Kev G weather overview. I'm going to do an afternoon update today, and then I'm going to do an evening update around 8 o'clock tonight. So lots to get to. There's just so much information, and I figured that I put together this graphic. This is going to be a bad storm for the eastern end of Long Island, and I think that it will be remembered in a notorious way for the folks out there in the Hamptons and in southeast Connecticut, where we could see a 3 to 5 foot storm surge over normally dry ground. That's just something that doesn't happen here a lot, folks. That is something to behold, and if it does happen, it is going to be a scary situation out there. And I think there will be a prolonged loss of power also in the areas in red. Now, for the areas in green, I'm concerned about flooding. That's because of two things. Number one, the hurricane is going to bring with it a potential for 1 to 3 inches area wide. But then the other problem is going to be that once the storm comes ashore Sunday night, it's going to linger a bit. And the winds may be dying down, but the circulation itself is going to remain with us for another 24 hours. And where that all lines up, very hard to figure out. But in areas in the Hudson Valley and in interior Connecticut, New York, I'd be very concerned about flooding, the potential for flooding to linger into Monday in some of these areas. So we have a long way to go yet with this hurricane, and it is indeed a Category 1 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale. I think the storm has reached its peak. The reason why is because of the satellite presentation. It doesn't have the look of a textbook hurricane. It has a lot of dry air on the west side of the circulation. The main action is on the east side of the system right now. And unless that changes, I think that the storm has reached its peak. And plus, the storm is also running out of warm water to mill about. Because once it gets to the latitude of about Atlantic City, it's going to run into water temperatures that are in the upper 70s, which is nice for us, but not so nice for a hurricane. Now, we've got hurricane warnings in effect for Suffolk County and southern Connecticut east of Bridgeport. We've got tropical storm warnings elsewhere, and that's because the storm will spread its winds out, and we will have the potential for gusts easily in the tropical storm range everywhere. And that'll be something that is basically a mainstay throughout the day, with the main action being tomorrow from basically about 8 a.m. to about 8 p.m. area wide. Now, the radar is actually already starting to light up. There's an upper level low pressure system that's to the north of Henri that's creating rain, and a lot of this rain has tried to push into the south shore of Long Island, but to no avail as of yet. But I think that'll change. This is a classic signal of a landfalling hurricane in the northeast to have some sort of pre-rainfall, and that's because the atmosphere is just so juiced up. Now, we've got rainfall potential that is scary. We've got a scary looking rainfall scenario painted by the Weather Prediction Center with the potential for 6 to 10 inches of rain in the area in orange, and that's most of Suffolk County. That's a scary situation. Now, elsewhere for New York City, the potential is of 2 to 4 inch rain. But you look at this bullseye over interior New York and Connecticut near the hills, and that's the area that scares me. For inland locations, if you are in this gold area in the inland locations, you've got to prepare for flooding now. That is going to be your main problem over the next 1 to 2 days. Now, the storm surge, if this verifies, is something that is going to be very scary. 3 to 5 feet above dry ground for the storm surge. That is something that is really going to be a major problem, especially right at the coast. Power outages, once again, going to be widespread for the areas in deep red, and that includes the eastern tip of Long Island, much of southern Connecticut, and even back towards the coastal Connecticut. I think they'll have problems there. So that's your AccuWeather ABC7 power outage map. And always, 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 when you have a landfalling hurricane, you have the potential for tornadoes. And the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma has the threat of a marginal risk. And then I believe they're going to upgrade this to a slight risk tomorrow. And areas in darker green have the potential for tornadoes. That's right. It always happens. It happened with Irene, and that was a tropical storm in 2011. Touchdown in Queens. So that's the afternoon update. We've got a ways to go. This is going to create nuisance problems for the city and the 5 boroughs in western Long Island. I think there'll be flooding, and there'll be the potential for some power outages. But the further east you go, that's where the situation is going to be very rough over the next couple days with the potential for damaging winds and flooding rains and that storm surge. So I'll be back later today with another update.